Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today is someone who started on an apparel brand focused on cats, with the sales going to the mission of rescuing and fostering kittens. Now, others are looking good and feline good thanks to him. Please welcome the owner of and the top cat of Felinious, Doug Rusinek. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I've been trying to chat ever since I met you. I've been wanting to do this, but obviously you're in St. Pete and it just never works out. So I'm glad. I appreciate you taking some time for a lunch break with me. My first question usually is, what's your go-to lunch sandwich?
Go-to lunch sandwich? Probably be chicken parm if I can find it.
I like that. Where do you usually like a pizza shop, or do you have a?
We've got a place in St. Pete called Mazzaro's, which is an old Italian deli, but it's like very basic Italian deli.
Okay.
Like, it's not like one of those crazy, like, oh, you get a Godfather sandwich, which is like chicken parm and like sausage and like pesto or something. It's just classic. It's just like a nice, simple breaded, chicken cutlet, sauce, cheese.
I love it. No, that's my favorite. That's like usually when I go to an Italian place, it's like I usually will do chicken parm sub, slice of cheese. If you can't do both of those, and then I'm done with you, I just walk right out.
Yeah, I like veal parm the most, but most places don't have it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good one. So tell folks a little bit about how you started the brand.
So the brand started probably, I think, 7 years ago now.
Okay.
And I was in a beer group and we needed a logo, and I reached out to a buddy of mine. I was like, here's some ideas. If you can, throw something together, it'd be great. And the first design he came back with, it was like cat focused. I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. And then that's kind of like snowballed from there.
So first off, I'm assuming obviously it's a cat brand, but or cat themed brand. So my first question is, love of cats. Where have you always had a love of cats? Was it something that just kind of evolved? Give me a little bit of a background on that.
I mean, as far back as I remember, I've always had cats. And then I remember probably when I was like 6 or 7, I don't know, somewhere, years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway. I had this like orange feral cat that sometimes would just come in and like sleep in my bed. And it just like naturally just came to me. Like, it was always just cats.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like dogs, but like I've got to have like a relationship with the person who owns the dog.
Yeah.
Because dogs are kind of like, they're like the whores of the animal world. They like lick anything for a treat. Okay. It takes like a little bit more like comfort level to have like a cat ignore you for all day and then still be like, all right, we're cool, right?
Yeah. No, you actually pretty much nailed it, because that's like the one part about the cats. Cats are like, well, if I need you, I'll come to you. But other than that, just leave me alone.
You've got to be a little bit more secure with yourself. So like, all right, well, if a dog ignores you all day, you're probably like, what the hell did I do? Yeah. If a cat ignores you, you're probably like, all right, it just doesn't need food yet. Yeah. No, I like that. I thought it was interesting. Out of curiosity, what did you ever ask like the designer why he like went? Because I don't ever think cat. I don't think cat at all when I think of like hops or anything like that when it comes to like beer or anything like that. I mean, I had cats, so I was like, here's like maybe do one cat, like do something else, or like here's like one idea. Yeah. So that was kind of it.
Okay. Gotcha. It's that, and that's kind of one of those where I was like, man, I'm like, that's so interesting. I was like, do you have a favorite, since obviously beer was a beer club, do you have a favorite type of beer or, style of beer?
Right now, probably just like more classic Pilsners. It's definitely evolved over the years. I went from like IPAs to stouts to pretty much the classic beer nerd journey. Okay. Nice. I like that.
So let's talk a little bit about the name, because originally, the brand was called originally Felinious Hops was originally the name of it. Felinious. Sorry, I am a horrible host.
It's
you would think I would. I'm obviously not a cat person. That I know this, but I should.
Nobody ever gets it. Did you ever watch Bobby's World growing up?
Yes.
And they'd always get the name wrong.
Yes.
You're like Bobby generic. It's like it's generic. It's like every time when somebody says Felinious, I'm like, it's Felinious. God damn it.
Felinious.
Feline. It's like feline.
Yes, I know it makes sense.
It should be like common sense, but it's not, apparently.
All right, I will promise you that will be the last. We won't make it. So why was it originally? Originally when you did this, you obviously fell in love with the logo, and said, "Hey, I think I can make an apparel brand out of this." Like, how did
pretty much? I was like, this logo is kind of really good, and like, I just didn't want to sit in a beer group that wouldn't see any love for it. Yeah, and so that kind of just like evolved, like turned into the company.
Nice. And then so basically, like you said, you've been doing this for about 7 years. Probably within probably the last year or so, like the last 6 months, the brand name has changed and evolved.
Yeah, we were Felinious hops for a while because it was pretty like beer centric, and then it kind of really limited us to what we could do. Like, so it's a lot easier to describe, you know, Felinious as like a, you know, a concept, and then I could do, you know, Felinious hops if like beer shirts, or Felinious Kush for weed shirts.
Yep.
You know, I've got like a Felinious pizza pub. Like I've got all sorts of like, Felinious is just like the main like umbrella corporation.
Correct.
That I can just like branch out and do anything I want with.
And as you should. That's the beauty of it. So yeah, that kind of makes total sense on going that route and everything like that. One of the things that I love about what you've kind of, this has also evolved, is though that you've become more of almost even like a cat rescuer, where I know like some of the proceeds of your sales actually go towards you know, cat rescue and stuff like that. So can you talk a little bit about that, where kind of how that evolved and kind of went? Because I know you're actually very involved as well with some of the organizations.
Yeah, I'm on the board of directors for Runaways Animal Rescue, actually. So it's definitely evolved from me just having cats then to me rescuing cats. And the brand is probably like a big push to that.
Yeah.
I'd say probably 4 years ago, there was a cat con in Tampa, and I met a couple cat rescuers. Danny, the cat lady, who is the CEO of Runaways Animal Rescue, and she kind of pushed me into fostering. And then I also met a couple cat influencers who pretty good friends of mine now, Sterling Trap King Davis, and his whole thing is just, you know, promoting TNR and rescuing cats and like street cats and just like, you know, helping them, you know, not like reproduce anymore.
Yeah.
So it helps to eliminate that cat population.
Yep. No, totally get that. How many cats have you fostered? And what's the, like, how many cats do you think you fostered in the last 4 years? And then I'm also kind of curious, like, what's the most amount of cats you've had in your house?
I really don't have a number. I don't really keep track, so it's always about the next ones for me. So it's always like, all right, those are gone. What's next?
Got it.
It's kind of like a t-shirt design. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of like over that one now. Like, what can we do now?
Yeah. No. And what about, how many have you had at one? Do you know how many you've had at your house, like at one time fostering?
At one point, I think I had 13.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was right before 4th of July, and I was like in the area of Green Bench Brewing, and there's like a ton of cats over there. And I trapped like 7 kittens right before the 4th of July. And I was like, it's better to keep them off the street so they're like sketched out and everything. And then it took about 6 to 7 months, because that was like right around when COVID hit. It took about 6 to 7 months to get some of those cats adopted. So there's a lot.
No, man, that is crazy. So tell people a little bit about your background, because I know, you know, obviously you and I have something very similar when it comes to our brands, is the fact that we are not designers. We do come up with them, and we do pay for designers and pay for designs, and things like that. But you also do screen printing, correct?
So I do some of the designs.
Okay.
And then I basically also like consider myself a graphic designer.
Okay.
And curator for the brand. So like I'll take, you know, a concept and like I can rework it and find different ways to make an old design fresh. You know, so I'm constantly like taking, you know, bits and pieces of stuff and kind of like figuring out what like works best. And then, you know, so now we got like a pocket print, or, you know, we can turn this into like socks. So we're starting to do a lot more stuff like that. No, I love that. And where do you get most of your inspirations from? Like is there any if someone were to go in and look at, you know, Felinious, where would they see what kind of like different styles or different, you know, like design styles would they come across when they come check out a website? It's pretty like, I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it. Like the brand's pretty schizophrenic in that there's no like set thing. Like I'd say we're kind of like skate, retro, punk, like with a little bit of streetwear like vibe to it. So it's like all like, I'm able to like find different designers that I like and can appreciate each kind of, you know, what they do and like give them their like, you know, here's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Like, what can you do with it? Yeah. And so like, here's a prompt. Like, you know, I'm good with coming up with phrasing and everything. And then I'm like, all right, so I don't have any like general idea what I'm looking for here, but like, here's a prompt, and then let's run with it. Yeah, no, I like that. And that's something, and that's the beauty of, and to be honest, like that's one of the beauties that I like about your brand, because it's similar to me in sandwiches, is the fact that it's niche, but it's so wide that you have quite a bit of, you know, you can pretty much go an umbrella of what you want to do with it. You know, because you can do so many different styles, just because there's so many different types of sandwiches, so many different types of cats. So there's so many, and then there's so many different types of cat lovers that you have, like, it opens up the aperture for you to be able to be like, oh, I kind of want to do more of a, I don't know, like a Western type theme or whatever. And just kind of use different, different pop cultures and different references and different, genres as well. Yeah, pretty much wherever the weed takes me, I'll follow.
So is that the motivation? Like something you're like, we're gonna have a brainstorming session. Let's see what we can do here and what we come up.
No, because weed's like pretty much like 24/7, so it's not like any added inspiration, but like sometimes it helps. Like, oh, that was definitely a idea.
Where and with that being said, when ideas come up, do you keep them anywhere? Do you write them anywhere?
I've got a list on my phone of like random stuff. So I'm like, oh, Chonky Tonk, that's kind of funny. Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, let's like, find something like that. And then like, I like to use a lot of like real world references and like allusions. So like, some of the addresses we use are like for real places that we've enjoyed in the past.
Oh, nice.
So like a pizza place on our like Felinious Pizza Pub shirt, like that's owned by the Mafia in Buffalo. And they were like so good at like making pizza that some of them got out of it and just like stuck with pizza.
No way.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, like they made a big deal. Like the Clintons came to town and like they got Lenovo pizza and everything. And then like the phone number from it is like from my favorite, like the Holy Grail pizza place as a kid. So it's just got like each design can kind of have a little bit of like personal touch and like feel to it. It's like I basically make stuff that I want. Yeah. And hope other people buy.
No, I totally get that. What do you think has been the hardest part of creating the brand?
Sometimes communicating with designers and then knowing when to like just give up on a design and like stop trying to make something work just because you like it. Yeah. But you got to like listen to like what other people want. Mm-hmm.
That's always a tough one, right? That one's a tough one for me where you have, because I've done designs where I'm like, man, this is going to be great. And then you're like, yeah, it was great for me,
but feel right.
No one else knew what the hell I was doing or what I was trying to do. Like I was not in the same headspace with everyone else.
Yeah, it's like when your ball stuck in your like boxers and you're just kind of like can't get them fixed right, and you keep pulling at it and you're pulling at it. It's like you just gotta like reset.
Do you think sometimes when it comes to design like that, like is it one of those where I'm always kind of curious? Like, have you ever had one of those where you've had a bad design? And then later on, you come back and you're like, you see it from a different angle, and maybe you're like, I could maybe bring this back, but like you kind of like how you said sometimes you'll kind of rework a design. Have you been able to successfully figure out some of those where bad designs have become later on like successful designs because you kind of tweak it. You're like, oh, if I went this route instead, this might work a little better.
I wouldn't necessarily say bad designs. It's just designs that didn't go the way I want them to go.
It didn't work.
Because I mean, each artist I work with is just fantastic at what they do. And then sometimes, it could just be me or just, just that we're just not in the same headspace. Yeah. But there's definitely been times where I've had a design done where I was like, I don't know what to do with this yet. And then it just like works out. Like for Cats Are Jerks, I like asked my buddy to do that design for me. I was like, all right, I just don't know how this is going to translate to a shirt yet. And I came up with the idea of like Cats Are Jerks, like from like everybody was like, oh, the birds aren't real thing. I was like, what's a quick like quick hitter of like cats? I was gonna do Cats Are Assholes. Yeah. But it's like a harder sell for everybody. And I was like, oh, Cats Are Jerks. It's kind of like it's quick hitting. Like, it's like familiar. Everybody's like, oh, Cat's a fucking jerk.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's great to be able to have. Did you have by any chance, like during this time when you started the whole thing of going into a brand, like, did you have any mentors or any people reach out to anyone to kind of get insight and kind of information from, to kind of learn from? Or was it just something you're like, hey, I'm learning as I go and just kind of doing things that I feel that I like, that I want to be able to share with others?
When I started working for Screen Print and Wove Print Co., John really taught me everything I know about screen printing and pretty much like graphic design concepts and everything. So like he was a really good resource to like learn from. And then I basically just took everything he taught me and just like built it on my own like concepts and like what I wanted to do. They taught me a lot on color theory and all that stuff. So I definitely learned a lot because I wasn't very artistic before that. So it definitely was a big help on like just understanding concepts. And then, as you go and like learn to screen print all your own stuff.
Yeah, which is amazing.
You learn, what works, what doesn't work, like how colors work, and just, it's just kind of all learning on the fly, really.
Would you say, are there certain colors, like shirt colors that you haven't, like you kind of like, hey, I have a palette of where I'm like certain basic shirt colors that I'm staying on, or are you pretty open? You're like, hey, I'll do bright colors. I'll do different things. Like what are you noticing from your customers on what they're liking and what works for you?
For me, really, it's been about what I would wear.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't print something I wouldn't wear. Yeah. For the most part. So I stay away from reds, really. It just hasn't been a big color for me. Yep. We're definitely never doing any fucking red hats. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Those are gone. Yeah. You can't do those anymore.
Nope.
So really though, it's just like whatever kind of speaks to me. I mean, we do pretty much any color in the rainbow, but it's, again, just stuff I like. So it's always blues, purples, pinks. it's like what I enjoy. So it's the hardest thing is like picking up new colors that you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
So a new design we got coming out, it's got like green and orange. I'm like, two colors I don't really do much. I'm just like, even though it's actually in the Kitties and We design, so I guess I'm a big liar now. But it's just not two main colors that I just like, oh, like Halloween colors just aren't my vibe.
Yeah.
But I know everybody else loves them, so like we're gonna run with it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally get that, and that's kind of a tough one for me. Sometimes uncertain. I'll ask different designers and different brands, like, hey, how does this color work for you? Because there's colors that I want to try to do on a design, and then when we start, then when I have it as a mock-up, and I'm like, yeah, and then when I go order it, I'm like, I don't think anyone's gonna buy this color
Blues
shirt.
Don't work well around here.
Yeah, it's like navy blue will work, but
I didn't do well with navy blue, and I didn't do well with like royal blue.
And that's one of those. Like I noticed for me, a lot of times it's like red shirts. No one really wants to wear. At least for me, and like I even did a shirt where it was like the team is the color of that wears that color, and even then it didn't work.
Was that the Phillies one?
Yes. Like
the cheesesteak one?
Yes. Like
it's just finding the right market.
It's like exactly. So then that's why when I brought it back, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it like a dark, like almost like a dark charcoal type gray. Cause then it's kind of like, okay, cheesesteak kind of still works within like what they wear. But then I've also had stuff where I've done like, like a cream colored shirt and people are like, oh, I don't look good in cream colored shirts.
Actually, that's changing so much for me.
One of my next designs is going to be like a sand cream because I'm like, I got to go different. So I just can't do the same white, gray, black, navy blue or whatever.
I'm doing more like off whites.
Okay.
And like AS Colors got a color called Bone.
Yes.
And it's just like, it's a light gray. It's just like, it's like you washed your white shirt a lot with darks.
Yeah.
And so it just got like a nice, like old, like hue to it. But it's like, people are, oh, I can't wear white. I'm like, honestly, like you're wearing yellow right now. And like, it's going to stand just as much as white.
Uh-huh.
So exactly. I was just like, I don't know. I was afraid of white for a while, but now it's like becoming like one of the better selling colors.
Yep. I'm in the same boat.
It's like so much easier to print. Oh, yes. God damn, I love printing on white shirts.
And that was one of the big things for me was like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to make this white. And then I'm like, no, but it looks so good in white.
I can see white being a challenge with sandwich shirts though.
Yeah.
And like, you got a chicken wing shirt that's all white. I'm like, I can see the damn issue.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree with that as well. That's kind of that's always been a hard one is like that is picking the right color for the design and then making it like the shirt color. And then it's like, I don't want to be boring and just have like, 5 different color, just like, 5 shirts that I want some things to kind of pop as well when you're kind of looking at a display, when someone's coming and looking at your displays.
Everything sells better in black. God damn it.
Yes, it does.
But now they switch over to discharge. It's a lot easier. So
okay.
Well, the way we were doing it with water-based in the past was just a headache to do anything on black. So now discharge, just like single pass, boom, bright colors.
That's nice. That's a good one. You actually, so when you first started about 7 years ago, you were doing this on the kind of like, it was, kind of like 2 full-time job type things. Now you've kind of evolved.
It was just like a little side thing for a while. I'd say 2 years ago, like post-pandemic, like once markets started picking up again, is when it really started to like push me into it. The guy from Wove gave me a sign for my birthday.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sign.
Yeah, so that kind of like pushed me to like making the brand look better, and that kind of like just snowballed to where we are now. And
now you're at a point where you're actually traveling to conferences. Like I know you did CatCon in California.
Yeah, we were in Pasadena. That was pretty great.
So tell me a little bit about that, because when you first told me that, I was like, what? Wait a second. I'm like, we're in Florida and you got to bring all this merch and everything like that with you. Like, how did you go about it? Did you ship it? You drive it? How did all that go about?
I basically had 2 friends come out with me. So I had 6 boxes on Southwest. And so I paid for a 7th. But we got everything out there. We came back with 4. So we sold 3 boxes worth of stuff. Great. So that was great. And so now that we've done that, I've got an idea of how to travel in the future. But paying for everybody's flights kind of sucks.
I was going to say that's a tough one when it comes to that. And then what did you do for everything else? Like cause obviously you're at a conference, you're just bringing boxes. Like what about like tables and all those things? Were some of those things supplied for you, or did you have to
so I brought some of our display stuff out with us, but did the old return situation. So we got some tables, then they didn't work out for us because they weren't black. Yep. So we had to return them because the boss said we wanted black, not white. So
totally know how that works.
Yeah. So we got the refund on those. We wanted to keep them, but unfortunately couldn't hang on.
Things happen.
And then that was really it, just the 2 tables, and then everything else I brought with me because I was like, I figured out how to. I also got like a hat display delivered too, so that got Amazon returned as well because Jeff Bezos can really just suck it about that $325 and his yacht.
What about and to me that's one of the things where is that something where you're now focusing more of taking your brand on the road and kind of like hitting different areas? And if that's the case, like what are you looking for? Have you noticed, obviously, anything cat related, but is there any other areas that you're kind of noticing that you're kind of like, hey, my brand works really well in these kind of outlets or these kind of areas?
Yeah, really. When I just annoyed the hell out of Chad from Lakeland Punk Rock Flea, getting into that was probably the best thing that's ever happened to Felinious, because it really gave me the confidence to go for bigger events. And like everybody has a punk rock flea, so if it works at one spot, it would work at another.
Really?
So it's just, punks are punks. Like they don't like change from like, you go from Tampa punks to like Birmingham punks. They're not that different.
Okay.
They still like black shirts. They still like cats. They like punk rock music, and they hate fucking people.
So it's going to be very interesting because since you brought that up, that is actually, I was invited to I'm doing my first Lakeland punk rock.
They're great. I love them.
And everyone I talk to says they love it, but I'll admit, like I look at my brand and I'm like, my brand, I don't know if my brand fits in that world. But at the same time, I was like, Chad said, hey, I think you do great. And I was like, okay, I trust you. Let's try it. I was like, let's see what happens.
Chad's great. Like, I don't think he would ever like pull somebody in that like wouldn't do well.
Correct.
He's like, specifically, like I've talked to him. He's like, people don't make money. Like, I feel bad, but like, why aren't you making money at my events that are really good? So he's like, I want to have people there selling stuff, because if somebody's not, it's just not the crowd then for me.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's kind of been my thought process as well, is like, I want to try different markets and try it, because you don't know. Just because it works well for one brand doesn't mean not work well for another. And so I'm always kind of looking to see like, where else can I go? And I want to hit other areas, because that's the only way you can grow. You kind of start, kind of as you're doing, because you live in the St. Pete area, but you come and do Orlando markets, and then you go and hit different areas, because why not? Our niche audience is everywhere. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you got to. For cat stuff, like it's pretty broad. Like everybody has cats.
Yep.
So I can pretty much feel confident going anywhere now. Like,
correct.
A lot of that really came from Matt from Titty Bats, who's like, hey, like we're pretty similar, like in like concepts and stuff. Like you'd probably do well, like traveling more. You really do it. And so he's kind of like giving me heads up on like good events to do as well. So it helps like forming that kind of bond with like other good people who aren't like, you're not like competitors, you're like cohorts.
Correct. No, and I think that's super important as well, because like you obviously will find people that will look at you as a competitor, and then there's others. But usually for those, I'm like, well, that's fine, whatever. That's cool. That's why you and I, every time I've seen you, I've always had conversations with you, because I'm like, and we're always chit chatting about things, just because we're all kind of in the same boat. We're all dealing with the same event, whether it stinks or doesn't stink. We're all there, and I'm like, and it's the beauty thing of creating that camaraderie.
Yeah, as long as you're not like all dog stuff, I don't have an issue with you.
There you go. See, I like that. Very cool. What can you tell me a little bit about? And I know we've discussed it about, and we kind of hit a little bit about some of the design stuff. About having that conversation about, maybe having a dog, in that sense, it's not a bad design. It's a dog design, is what you would say. When it comes to that, like, what have you learned in that world of communication, of being able to communicate with designers, even like events, and being able to kind of have that open dialogue with them about, hey, this isn't working, or this, these are things that we could do better. And things like that. Like, what are some of those things that you've kind of experienced where you're like, or tips that you can maybe give someone, because sometimes that's a hard conversation to have.
Really, it's about being just open in communication. Like, all right, so it took a while for me to tell a designer I didn't like something, because I felt like I was like spitting in their face. Yeah. But like, that's what you're paying them for. Like, most people are like, all right, you get like 3 or 4 edits, like you should use them. Mm-hmm. So it's just really getting the confidence to be like, hey, I'm not really feeling this. And does this not look right? Or is it supposed to be that way? Like, ask questions and like feel it out, because like sometimes artists need somebody to like, hey, like, what if we try to adjust this a little bit, and then the design works so much better. Yeah. So it's always good to have like a second set of eyes, and it's just like being okay with just like trying to be honest and just don't be a dick about it. Yeah, exactly. That, and also I'll jokingly tell you can use the sandwich compliment. You kind of give them, kind of like, hey, this is I love what you're doing. What about some of these things? I'm super excited what's going on. It's like kind of like that thing. But at the end of the day, I think like, and you being obviously someone as creative in the design aspect as well, it's good to have, obviously, you obviously just pick the right designer that actually kind of fits within that realm of what you're trying to create. But 2, also maybe have
have somewhat of an idea of what you're thinking. I mean, sometimes I love having that dialogue with the designer. And sometimes I'll tell the designer, hey, I have an idea in my head of what I'm seeing, but if you want to have first dibs and like kind of show me what you're thinking when I tell you this, I'd love to see it and then kind of go that way. But my big thing is like, I never want to waste anyone's time. Mm-hmm. So that's always my big one where it's like, I'm like, I'll doodle it for you and you can kind of see it. Do you do stuff like that as well? Or do you?
So I'll find just like a lot of like design concepts that I like. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm thinking of. Like a lot of my stuff's like, when I'm talking to a new designer, it's usually like a retro concept got in mind that like I've seen some of the stuff they've done before. I'm like, oh, you use halftones. I'm a halftone slut. Like,
I love that.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So I'll just like use some of their kind of like designs that they've done. And like, this is the style I'm looking for. Here's your prompts. Like I said, like I'll be like, all right, so I love kitties and beer. Go. So like we're gonna be doing something like that in the upcoming for February. So it's gonna be like a retro beer ad, like Valentine's Day card.
I love it.
So it'll just be like, you know, white shirt, lots of hearts and shit.
Or out of curiosity, is it going to come with a card?
It should come with Valentine's card.
Dude.
That's a good idea.
It totally needs a card.
I'll give you the credit for that one.
Hells yeah, man. Combo package, shirt and card. Mm-hmm. You get the shirt and give your suite the card, and then like or vice versa or whatever, or give it both. But yeah, that'd be perfect if you can do that and figure out like some kind of local printer or something like that to kind of just print it for you. That'd be a cool little Valentine's Day combo.
I could probably print it myself.
There you go, dude. There you go.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, dude. I'm all about brainstorming. I love stuff like this, man. I love like being able to hear other people's ideas and just kind of like, hey, what if we do this? Just because I'm like, I just love people's creativity of being able to do stuff. And one of the things that I also love is when you figure out what your niche is and then you kind of like build off of it. So like I know you kind of started doing like the cat toys and started doing like the stuff for like catnip for your cats, stuff like that. Talk a little bit about that and kind of like how you got into that. And then it's like something that you're actually doing, or is it like kind of like you're doing it kind of what is it called, white label type stuff, or what exactly? How did that come about with like the toys and all that stuff?
Man, I just like stuff that so I just like produce stuff that I want. Yeah. So the catnip toys came about because my cat only plays fetch with one toy. Someone gave me a catnip joint and pot leaf, and that joint's the only thing she'll play fetch with. Really? So I was like, oh, it'd be cool if like start like carrying these wholesale. And so I saw some of the other stuff they had, and I was like, all right, so I'll get them like produced, and like I can do like custom phrases on them and everything. So you throw a fuck on a cat toy, everybody's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. Nice. And what about the catnip? Same thing with the catnip stuff?
So like, yeah, I get that from a wholesaler, and I just package myself. So I'm just sitting there like a little like cat weed dealer.
Yeah, dude.
We're actually talking to a factory in China right now about getting some tins made. So we're going to bring back the pre-rolled tins. And that one way you buy some pre-rolled catnips for your cat.
Yeah.
And then you've got the weed tin for yourself.
Yeah.
So then you've got your own little joint carrier.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. I love that. I love ideas like that because it fits within the brand. It's not like it's not like off from the brand.
Yeah, it's just all cat stuff. So.
And it just but it all kind of fits in perfectly. And you're like, why didn't I think of that? So it's like, I'm so glad that when I saw that and saw how you've kind of evolved into that, because it's like you do stickers, you do stickers, hats, shirts, pins, and then you also have the cat toys.
I've pretty much bandanas. We're going to do socks soon. I've got some stash bags coming, so like street fashion bags, but like they're charcoal lined, so like they're smell proof.
Oh,
so like we're gonna start pushing a little bit more weed stuff because like kitties and weed has been our best selling shirt all year, and so I was a little afraid of doing weed stuff because I didn't know how well it'd sell. Yeah, but now I'm just like I smoke a ton of weed, like I'm just leaning into it, like So, but there's no like cool. It's like how it started with the kitties and beer. Like there's no cool kitties and weed stuff, but everyone wants to get stoned and stay at home with their cat. Yeah. So like I want to start doing some grinders. Why
do I see that as a shirt? Everyone wants. I just want to stay home and smoke with my cat.
Possibly, I can see it. Yeah, but yeah, it's just I don't know, man. It's just like cat people love weed.
Hey, man, I and then you get hungry and you want maybe a sandwich. That's all. Right? It's all good. Yeah, it all kind of evolves. So it all works together. Right. I love it. I love it. What would you say? Can you give, because since you do so many different events and you travel, I'm always kind of curious because I will definitely say you've hit more places and have so many different markets. Can you give a little bit of an idea of like, what are some of the things? Obviously it's good that you try different markets, but are there certain things that you look for when you're looking to go to a new market of like what it is? Because obviously there is a certain level of time, time being spent to prep and do all these things. So like, are there certain things that you kind of look out for and kind of look at when you're trying to determine on applying for a market or wanting to do a new market or finding a new market to sell at?
For me, I mean, I'm pretty fortunate in that I've got a bunch of different niches all within one. So like I can go to beer festivals and do really well.
Yeah.
And then like I said, punk rock fleas, I kill there. And like every city has a punk rock flea. But it's really just, like I said, having a network of people that you can communicate with who's let you know like if it's a good market or a bad market. So like having someone who's already done those markets is very helpful.
Yeah.
Like to give you that feedback.
I gotcha. No, that makes total sense. What's your favorite part about having the brand, and what's the hardest part about the brand?
Man, I think the favorite part is just cats. I mean, it's been cool to be able to rescue cats and like see my friends like have cats that I raised for them, and then like now just watch them be little assholes and just destroy their houses.
What's the hardest part?
I don't know really. Like it all feels hard because like you're just never not working.
Yeah. Like
I just went to Milwaukee and like it was the first time I wasn't working like on a trip for a while.
Yeah.
Because like usually I'll go somewhere and try to sell some stuff somewhere. I'm like, hey, like let's try to move some like products over here.
Yeah.
So it was nice to just go to Milwaukee and just relax and just like enjoy myself without like thinking about trying to work. So that was really nice to just be able to like cut off and just not like do anything. So after CatCon we did well. So I had like, plus like September is like markets just, or like August to September, it's like rough market wise anywhere around here. So really you've got a lot of downtime. So I was just like, we just printed 600 shirts and it was exhausting. And then like I got to go on a trip. So like that was nice. And then I had COVID, then we had a hurricane. So I haven't worked in like 3 weeks. I feel like tonight's market's going to kill me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and hopefully it's going to be, and that's kind of the big one is like also that is like the anticipation, the setup, getting everything ready to go, the weather.
Yeah, it's not like a 5 to 9 market situation.
Correct.
There's like 6 hours of prep that goes in everything.
Yep. And that's always the hard part is like getting ready to go. And it's like a lot of things that people don't realize that goes into it when they show up and they look at your booth or they look at your tent area.
Stop touching my shit. I had to fold all of that.
It makes you appreciate when you go into, I will say it makes me appreciate when I ever go into like a big box or any other store and I look at the shirt, and if I were to open it up, I'd be like, I'm folding it right back up. I'm trying to make it look nice. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. I totally understand what you
can ever fold it back the way you had it.
No, never. Not unless you have like for me, my shirt folder, unless I have my shirt folder, I'm like, it's like, I can do somewhat to a degree, but not anything close to what my shirt folder does.
Yeah, after a good big market, I've got to take everything out. We've got to basically reset up everything, like replenish whatever we sold, and then refold everything so it looks tight and nice again to fit back in the box and like fit on the table.
Yep.
So having an assistant sometimes who's very capable is very, very, very helpful.
Yeah, I was going to say that's something that's new for you that you've now been able to do. Working more is being able to have an assistant, also being able to have a separate setup, for them to be able to do a second setup, which obviously allows you then a little bit more diversity to kind of go especially when markets start kind of happening, where you can actually have two, you could be at one and they could be at another one. Those are all things that are obviously very beneficial, but also means that you've had a lot of growth and you've kind of grown enough that you can actually, be able to have that set up and do all those things.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big initial investment because you got to buy another tent and like, how do you replicate the setup from one to the other? So like we just had to buy more signs. I just had to buy another iPad. Like I had to buy a new tent cover. So there's like $3,000 just like in like general setup stuff that's like gone into a tent before like there's more shirts on the tables. And like, it's just like a lot of like initially just like, hey, look, my credit card's full. Yeah,
that and planning, and then obviously extra work. You're trying to make sure you keep up with tabs with everything like that,
and just having competent people. Like Matt's been great. Like he's like really a big reason why we've grown so much this year because he's so fucking competent. Yeah, it's like I just looked at him one day and I was like, you are so goddamn confident. I love it. He like doesn't screw up, but he's like an overpleaser. So it's like great.
Well, and that also helps because of the fact that a lot of people actually will come and I'm assuming that they also, when they're coming, they're looking, well, one, they want the designs capture you, but then two, also the fact that your love of what you're doing. So to be able to find someone competent and kind of comparable that people can kind of see the same thing and hear the same message and passion, that always helps as well.
Yeah. Nobody's ever going to love your company the way you do.
Correct.
Like everybody's like, oh, you should really like take ownership of the job. Like, fuck that boss. Yeah. Like you should do as much as you get paid to do. So like you have to just like, how would your employees want to be treated? Like I've always been treated well in the screen print industry by John. So like I like learned to like take care of my employees. Like Matt gets his lunch for free every day mostly. I pay him like $20 an hour. Like I try to go above and beyond. Like he gets to keep the iPad when he's not working.
Yeah.
So like he gets like perks for like not too bad of a part-time job.
Not bad at all.
So, I mean, I try to make sure he's happy and like treat him like a real person. Like, cause that's how I would want to be treated. Like, exactly. I want to work for a boss who's like, oh, here's a bonus steak. What?
Yeah.
Just like a raw steak. Here you go. Yeah. So it's like, it's like I cook dinner for him. Like I try to like, like how do I keep that one person who's helping me make my life easier? Like how do I make him feel like he's doing like, worth, like while
and nothing better than feeling appreciated, and that's definitely the ways of doing it, not just getting paid but the other aspects of it.
I would love to pay somebody $10 an hour, but I know like I would not get for what I would get for $10 is not gonna go well.
Exactly No, I totally agree with that.
Sometimes you don't want to buy that brown meat no matter how much of that discount is on there.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. What advice would you give someone if they were going to be starting something?
As far as something,
that's the key. I make it open-ended because of the fact that sometimes I've come to the conclusion that maybe all people that listen to this podcast aren't trying to want to start a business.
Yeah.
So if you kind of want to go that route, you can. But I also know that there's people that they talk a lot, but they don't do anything about it. And my theory is if I can at least inspire someone, whether even just to start the hobby that they said that they want to do, or to work out, or whatever the hell it is, I figure everyone's got a message on either a motto or a message that they can use or at least kind of give. I mean, obviously just start it or just do it is always a very popular one, but I'm always kind of curious on, what and you can definitely take it as, hey, if you're going to start a business, this is what my recommendation is, which we could definitely go that route. Cause I'm very curious on you now 7 years into this. If you were to start over again or to kind of go that route, what advice would you give yourself?
I mean, ultimately, like, do what you love. Like, I don't feel like I work. Like, I spent like 4 hours last night up talking to people in China, like getting stuff ordered and like making design stuff. So it's like, it didn't feel like I was like working. I was just like doing stuff that like I enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you ultimately look at like, for me, like when I look at big skate brands like Supreme and like Huff and like all these things, like those are just like dirty skate punk kids who just like did shit and made it happen. So it's like, you have to just like take that risk and like try to do it.
Yeah.
And it just helps if you fall into a niche that you love.
Yeah.
Because that just makes it like you're not really doing anything. Like, do I love like basically bartending t-shirts every day? No. Do I love like making t-shirts though? Yeah, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
It's like I just make stuff that I enjoy that I would want to buy. So like ultimately it's just make yourself happy.
I love that. Go on.
There's nothing worse. Like I worked retail for 17 years. Like there's nothing worse than seeing money come in and out and just knowing that you're not being paid for what you're worth. So it's ultimately just like, don't stick around for like dead end stuff. Like make yourself happy. Like you have to work 40 hours a week. Like why would you want to be miserable for those 40 hours a week? It doesn't make sense the way that like, we force everybody into that stuff nowadays.
No, I agree.
You should be able to like exist without having to like have a purpose if you don't have a purpose. Like you don't need to like do something to be a better person. Just be a good person.
Yeah.
And sometimes that should be enough.
Exactly. Out of curiosity, did you grow like in your past or anything like that, did you have anyone that was kind of entrepreneurial or kind of had small businesses or anything like that you kind of learned from or was it something that you just kind of, hey, this is what I want to do and I just kind of did it? Because that's kind of how it went in my world. That's kind of how it went. I
mean, aside from like drugs in college, no.
Okay.
I mean, like just, I don't know. It just happened for me.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't like, I never saw myself as being a business person. I went to school for like public relations just because I thought it was an easy degree to get.
Yeah.
Like they push so many of us to go to college because if you don't go to college, you're just going to be a screw up. And so like we all got saddled with debt. None of us want to have kids because the idea of a kid will like just bankrupt you. Just thinking about it, just like, damn, you should probably that's why I got a vasectomy. Like I'm poor. I can't be poor. So like, let's make sure this doesn't happen. It's just, yeah. I don't know, man. It's just tough sometimes.
No, man, I totally get it. It's definitely a hard one. But that's why I was kind of curious because I sometimes try to figure out and wonder like if there was something that kind of led to it. Because like for me, my parents always were the ones that kind of were like, they said it, but they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So they would be like, we don't care what you do. You just do what you love. So if you want to be a garbage man and pick up trash and you love it, then that's what you want. But the thing is,
garbage men are integral to our society, though.
Yes, they are.
If they strike, the world goes to shit.
Yeah, totally.
Everybody should look at garbage men in different ways. They should never be a negative connotation.
And that's how my mom was kind of like, hey, I don't care what it is that you love, but just do it. And that's what she used to tell me as a kid. But the problem is, my mom would say that, but then my mom would go and work a regular job that she didn't really love, but she did it because she knew that it paid bills.
But that's the thing too. Like, you shouldn't have to. Like, I get you shouldn't have to love your job.
Correct.
Like, jobs are there, like, not because you love the place.
Correct.
Like, those jobs are there because you are paying the bills.
Correct.
So like, that's like, oh, managers are the worst. Like, oh, you should really like dedicate everything to this place. Like, I'm dedicated to like whatever you're paying me hourly.
Yeah. And for me, my big thing was always, like, I was like, okay, I get that. And so I got the foundation of, okay, hard work, do what, be proudful, have pride on what you're doing and stuff like that. But at the same time, it was like, for me, at the same time, I was like, that's one of the reasons why I even started the brand, was because for me, it's like almost like it was like a passion thing that I love doing. And it's not, even though a lot of my friends may say to me like, dude, what are you doing? You work a full-time job, and then on the weekend you're going to go and sell for like 6 or 7 hours and prep and do all this stuff. Like, why would you do that? And I was like, because I love it. I'm like, I love going out and trying to sell my stuff and see people wearing my stuff and get excited about my stuff.
Do you remember like the first time you ever saw someone wearing your shirt?
Yes.
You're like, oh, it's like you see like, TV shows where like there's rappers like, oh, that's our song on the radio.
Do you have, like, when that happened, did you go and like say, hey, oh, I like your shirt?
Yeah, no, I'm not like that. Like,
I try not to do that, but but at the same time, I was like, oh my God, it's my shirt. My favorite is when people, and you probably get this, when people see either a sticker or something, and then they like basically like, hey, like I had one time, I had a buddy of mine that goes, hey dude, you're not going to believe this. I saw 2 people in Chicago wearing one of your shirts, and they were different shirts. And I was like, what? And I was like, are you serious? And he's like, did you take a picture? I was like, he goes, I didn't want to be weird. He's like, but I was super excited when I saw it. I was like, that's insane. So yeah, I totally know what you mean about that feeling.
Yeah, it's cool because like I've got a lot of friends that work in the brewing industry. So like, oh, I saw a bunch of shirts this weekend. I was like, oh, it's always great. But it's like, oh man, like if I'm at a bar and someone's like, oh, that guy's wearing your shirt. I'm like, hey, that guy made your shirt. I'm like, no, don't do that.
No, don't.
I'm like, that's not why I'm here.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for $30. You probably just bought this beer.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate that.
But that's the part that I think that to me that like, and it's totally right about having that love for doing something. And when you do love something like that, then it doesn't become work because it's something that you just love doing. Just like you're kind of probably excited and love the idea of what you're trying to build and what you're creating. Because I mean, you're seeing the fruits of your labors little by little going, you're kind of from where you were 7 years ago to where you are now. I mean, it's pretty awesome to see that you're going to more different places, you're growing, doing more, do different lines of things. I think that's kind of an amazing aspect. Is it something that you kind of think about, or is it just kind of like as it goes, you're kind of like, hey, this is what I think this might be the next evolution? Or are you one of those that plan ahead and go, in 5 years, I want to do this?
I mean, I always joke around that the goal is Zoomies.
Okay.
You just like be able to do a bunch of wholesale and just not have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Anymore. But I mean, ultimately, like for me, like I'm just happy seeing like friends have cats that I've like raised.
Yeah.
And like that's where the brand's brought me. It's like it's cool to see my stuff out there, but I'm more excited to see like friends with cats that and it's because of the brand that I was able to do that. So the brand ultimately should exist for me to help cats. Like, it doesn't get as much money as I'd like it to because I'm poor as shit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, ultimately, like, I'd like to be, like, a multi-million-dollar company and, like, be able to, like, pay for all of Runaway's bills every year.
I was going to say, and be able to do
cool
so
to,
many
like,
things.
just be able to support a rescue just from the brand.
Yeah.
So, like, that's where, like, I'd ultimately like to be. So, like, that'd be fucking cool.
Well, we're putting it out there, man. We're putting it out there. We're going to make that happen.
So, if anybody from Zubies is listening, like, buy my shit.
Yeah, exactly. Are you selling some of your stuff on wholesale and doing stuff like that?
So, I'm in the Neighbors, and that's been pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Brianna's great.
Yep.
And at every market I'm in in Orlando, someone's like, oh, yeah, I think I saw some of the stuff at the Neighbors. Like, absolutely. That's great.
Are you in any of like a fair and like that, any of those things, or no?
No. I'm a little too afraid of putting some of my designs out there and get stolen. I already had somebody try to steal kitties and beer.
I think the only thing, like for me, what I did was for my brand, like I did the pins, like I did pins and stickers and kind of went that route. And then maybe even like your cat toys, maybe that might be
some
like
of the cat toys I get are already from the wholesale aspect. Yeah. So
gotcha. But the pins and the stickers maybe could at least be an angle of where you go rather than start doing first. And then maybe if you do greeting cards, I'm telling you, man, I think greeting cards are going to, I want that.
I could see it. Cause like spicy greeting cards, like I said, like anything with the word fuck has been a big seller this year.
So where can people follow you? Where can they see you? They can shop online and follow you on social media. Where can they do all that?
Yeah, pretty much just search Felinious and you'll find us. It's Felinious.
And does it have a, what is it called?
There's an underscore on the Instagram.
Underscore on the Instagram.
If you look up Felinious, you'll pretty much just find us in general.
Yeah.
Because nobody else really exists in that world other than us.
And it'll be in the show notes and it'll be as well as also on the social. So you should be able to see it, whether it's on the Instagram as well as also on the show notes. You'll be able to see all of that. So definitely a good one. What are your big plans for the rest of the year? Do you have any ideas?
We got a bunch of stuff. I've got so many different designs coming. I was like so excited to print, but like I got to do all these other events to sell some stuff first.
So, and I'm going to ask this question last because you're kind of, I feel like you made a comment, and I don't know if you said it while we were recording or before, but it's a long process, right? The whole idea of coming from concept to obviously getting it done to then printing it. By the time, for me, a lot of times, by the time the shirt's printed, I'm almost like I'm just ready to sell it because I want to go to the next idea. And it sounds like you have, when ideas come and you have a whole bunch of shirts, you're like, well, what the heck? I can't like, how do you manage all of that? Especially at this point where you're like, I got all this inventory I got to go. And then so that I can make the money then to make more new stuff. Is that how you kind of do it? Or are you just kind of like,
I'm just going, man. Like, yeah. Cause like I can print my own stuff. Like I get a design, if I get a design tomorrow, I can print it Monday.
Yeah.
If I've got like shirts on hand. So like it can really come like real quick. Like, all right, design's not working. Let's get it out. Let's put it in like, the shop and then like go from there. Like, so sometimes I'll just like rush through a design because I want to get a new design out. So it is definitely hard because I'm just always like, oh, new stuff.
Well, the other positive is you because in my world, obviously I'm paying for the printing. And so therefore I can't just go, hey, let's just do a few dozen to see how it looks or how it works. Yeah. But in your case, like it's definitely an advantage.
Yeah, I'll start with like an initial run of like probably like 50 or 60 men's, and then like, well, now we will like that much. Before we do like 24, but like now I'm just like sick of printing sometimes. So I try to do as much of it like at once as possible instead of like over like the course of a week.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Yeah, it's almost to the point where you start kind of figuring out a process of like, okay, printing on this one, replenishing on all these designs after, especially now that we're entering in the fall season, is obviously all the markets is when things kind of get a little crazy for us in Florida.
Yeah, they start picking up for sure, like especially like October once like everyone starts like Christmas shopping.
Yep. It's definitely the good stuff, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to come visit me. I really, I had a blast. I always love seeing when I got to meet you. I think I'm trying to remember what I think I want to say we met. Was it at which might
have been the Neighbors.
Was it at the Neighbors?
Yeah, the anniversary.
Yes, it was the Neighbors. Mm-hmm. That was the first time we met at the anniversaries, and then I've seen you at a few other events.
We were at Winter Haven.
Yes, we sold at Winter Haven, which was another. I think it was a Bandit Market. I think is what it was called. And then and basically ever since then I've been following you because like I love what you're doing. It's funny, I'm not a cat person, but I love everything about like the designs and all that stuff because it's like just a fun. They're fun designs, and I love the fact that it's your style. It's like you're like I totally wear all these shirts all the time. My last question before we close off, I'm just kind of curious on this. Do you always wear Felinious? Or
99% of the time, like head to toe, I'm probably covered. Because like now that we're getting socks, I'll probably just always wear my socks. So like again, like I make stuff that I think's comfortable, and that I want to wear. So like if I don't believe in it, I'm not gonna wear it. So like that's how I try to like build a brand.
I love it.
It's like, wouldn't you want that out of an owner? It's like always use their stuff. Like I don't want to go to like a restaurant where the chef doesn't want to eat his own food.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for him to buy other brands because like it's gonna sound really conceited, but you have to be better than me. Like if your shirts aren't the best quality, like I can't wear it. I'm sorry, but my stuff's softer, so like I'm gonna wear it.
Yeah.
I think I maybe have like 3 shirts that like they're just cutoffs that aren't mine.
Yeah.
One of them's Titty Bats. One of them's my buddy Mike from Alleyway Screen Printing, and like another one's like a Wu-Tang cutoff. It's like I might not own anything else other than my own stuff, which is great because it's cheap.
Yeah.
But it's comfortable. And that's why I wear it.
And then last one before we close off. Do you have a tattoo? Do you have a brand tattoo on you by any chance?
I don't have a brand tattoo.
I've
only got one cat tattoo actually.
Okay.
I'm kind of shocked, but yeah.
No, I was curious. Yeah, I just got a Deli Fresh Threads tattoo.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, finally, because I've been talking about it for so long that I finally was like, my wife was like, I'm tired of this. You need to like, you talk about wanting all these tattoos and you don't do it. You're not doing anything. So for Father's Day, she was like, even though she really didn't book anything or did anything, but she's like, she gives me like the consent and goes, you're doing it. So just schedule it. So I got that scheduled and I got that done. So that was kind of a great one. So,
nice.
So it's awesome. Yeah, man, dude.
I've got so many designs like that I love. That I was like, damn, like, I don't know. I'm kind of like past my tattoo phase.
Yeah.
I actually do have 2 cat tattoos, but they're both of my cat that passed away. So they've been my 2 tattoos that I've gotten since I was like probably 23.
Okay.
So like in like 15 years, those are my only 2 tattoos. So
hey, and they're meaningful and it still kind of stays within the brand idea.
It does.
Yeah.
One of them's actually one of our shirt designs. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love it, dude. I love it. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much to Doug Rusinek of Felinious for being on. I told you I was going to get it right. For being on. I really appreciate it. Definitely make sure to check them out online. If you're in the Florida area, or heck, if you're in anything cat related, I want you to make sure, especially if there's like a cat convention or a cat conference or anything related to that you think would fit within his brand, reach out to him, give him a follow, let him know. If you're interested and you enjoy the episode, make sure to subscribe, make sure to tell your friends, share, listen to all the different episodes. All my episodes are evergreen, so you pretty much can listen at any time to any one of them. If you want to support my brand, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads. And I really appreciate that. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, everyone.